Oh, we lost the roof cam. The roof cam is down. I'll have to restart that. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acomb. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano, fresh off his trip from Albany.
Good morning.
Good morning. You've had a busy week, real busy week.
Yeah, I got home about 11 o'clock last night.
Well, thank you for stopping in here.
Sure, no problem. Happy to do it.
We've got a lot to talk about. And could you explain, I don't want to get too much in the weeds on the wonkiness, but explain what the process is right now, because you have voted on 2, right?
Actually, technically 3.
Oh, because of the first one.
Yeah, I know a lot of times you think of the budget.
Yeah.
The budget actually comprises 10 different budget bills. Like the first bill we always vote on, we get done early, is a debt service bill to make our payments. There's Article 7 bills, which are the language bills, and then there's appropriation bills. A couple of the Article 7 bills are they call it the Alpha Bill. That's like the education, labor assistance.
Yep.
And the PPG, which is public protection and government. Those are the 2 we voted on this week.
And how many extenders?
We've done 14 extenders. 14 extenders, 3 actual budget bills.
Okay. And was it a surprise that the Alpha, I think Alpha was first, right? Was it a surprise that it came up when it did, or were you starting to expect this?
People started talking. There were reports. Obviously, the media gets things, then we've had some communications with the other side, so they say things are moving. We're glad things are moving. It's been longer than it should have taken. So we did those 2 bills this week, and then instead of trying to jam it all into the weekend, they said to come back, so we should be back there after Memorial Day and hopefully start first thing Tuesday and finish. The question is what's to be determined what's in there.
Right. Well, and that's what's got to be frustrating, because there's such a lack of transparency. Right. So when you start to hear whispers that something like this is going to come up, you really don't have a lot of time to take it all in.
That's correct. And they used what they call messages of necessity. Constitution. This is a question I asked the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee all the time during our budget debates on the extenders. Are we going to have the 3-day constitutional required wait period on a bill?
Right.
Bill gets introduced and you have to wait 3 days. It can get vetted. The public can see it. That's what happened with the SAFE Act. They did it and they rushed it. They've done this. This is past practice. They just want to get it done, and they're like, we want to get it done. I'm like, yeah, but we waited 7 weeks so far. Right. Can't the public have 3 more days to review it and see what's in it? And part of my problem too is we still don't have a financial plan. I mean, that kind of lays out what our out-year budget gaps are, what our total spending is about going to be from all funds, state operating funds, our reserves, a whole host of issues. And we're talking about, again, a $250 billion budget.
Yeah.
That's more than any other state. I know other than California, but it's more than some bigger states combined, like Texas and Florida. It's much bigger than those. And those states have bigger populations than ours too.
And there was talks of getting the financials after Hochul, which is ironic. It's about 2 weeks or 3 weeks since Hochul said it was all over.
Yeah,
2 weeks.
Governor Hochul made her big announcement. The budget was agreed to, and but quickly, probably about an hour later, the speaker was out in the hallway doing a press gaggle saying there's no deal.
No.
The majority leader said there was no deal. Then they said we're going to get it done this week, and then the Senate deputy majority leader came out and said there's no way we get it done by Memorial Day, and then
he's right.
Yeah, he was right. And then so we started the process, and like I said, we did the 2 bill. But I know it gets kind of hectic. Sometimes they see something passes, and usually I'll do a press release after the whole budget, because usually we're doing them all together. But since this is spread out in a couple of the bills that came out that had some big issues in it that I thought people should know about, and so that's why I did. These are the bills. As the Ways and Means ranker, I'm kind of my job to kind of debate these bills, and I debated both of them for nearly half hour, because that's how many. I have 2 15-minute segments I can debate, and I use pretty much the full time just asking questions of the chairman, asking questions of the other committee members, because on the immigration I had to have conversations with another member of the legislature who was more of an expert in that area, which was fine. But it was fine, but it's just the problem is overall we still don't have that financial plan, and that was part of the reasons. The Alpha Bill, the first bill we did, on the face of it, in and of itself, wasn't a bad bill. It had some good things in there. Obviously, the one thing on school aid, the governor had a minimum increase of 1%. We've been saying it used to be 2%, and I think that's something that we wanted to see happen, at least 2%. But the big thing that happened in that bill was the delay of the electric school bus mandate. And I'm glad it happened, but I still want a full right repeal, excuse me. And a couple days earlier, they voted down my bill in committee, which was a better bill in my opinion, because it would have delayed it back further.
That. Yes, because 5 years. I mean, talk about kicking the can down the road. It's not going to be ready in 5 years.
No, it won't be. And so now, just for the viewer, is initially they were supposed to start purchasing electric school buses beginning in July 2027 and convert their entire fleets by 2035. Now they have to begin purchasing in 2032 and convert their entire fleet by 2040. The bill I had that I think is a much better bill says, number one, they wouldn't have to begin purchasing an electric school bus until 2045. And the reason we used that date was 2045 is when, in law, all medium and heavy duty fleets have to be purchasing that date. But my bill said not till that date or till the state of New York converts their entire fleet first.
Right.
Whichever comes later.
Yeah.
And I don't think that New York State, so now we're paired up with the state, but that's what I've been saying all along. Why this whole time we've been asking school districts that they have to convert their entire fleets a full 5 years before the state of New York does. Why we're asking our school districts and property taxpayers to be the guinea pig for this social experiment. Yeah. But even still, we might be at 2040, but the state has an out for costs. The state has an out for feasibility. They don't have the date. If they want to put it off, they can, but our school districts are not going to be able to do that. They are still going to have to begin purchasing electric school buses in 2032.
Right.
So the question I asked during the budget debate is there any cost-benefit analysis that is going to be required? Is there any feasibility study that's going to be required, safety studies? And they said no, and that's what my bill does. It would require a cost-benefit analysis by the state education department to go through and see how much this is, because we know just on replacement costs alone, we're looking at $15 billion higher cost, because the cost of an electric school bus is about $450,000 versus about $125 to $150 for a near zero emission diesel bus. The charging infrastructure, billions of dollars in charging infrastructure for schools, building infrastructure.
Yeah.
And also the electric grade infrastructure improvements that are going to need to be met and borne by the local property taxpayers. Because I remember we did a press conference 2 years ago on this issue, because we've been talking about it since the beginning.
Yeah.
Said that it would cost the school districts over $30 million to do electric infrastructure improvements like substations, power, things like that. And that would be borne by the property taxpayers. So I am glad that we have this delay. I think it's a partial victory, at least for a pause. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a pumping of the brakes, not an outright slamming of the brake like I've said we should be doing, but at least it's doing that. And the other thing our bill did, so our bill had a cost-benefit analysis. Our bill also had a feasibility study, which would require the Public Service Commission in collaboration with the utilities, with collaboration with the New York Independent System Operators, which is charged with making sure the power stays on, the lights stand, do a feasibility study, see what can this be done, when can it be done. I mean, that's just common sense to do these things. And then also a safety study with the Office of Fire Prevention, because these lithium-ion batteries, they catch on fire often, and if these things catch on fire, I'm sorry, these kids are dead.
Yeah, I mean, because look at what happened to the apartment complex over here.
It can happen.
One dead, and that was an apartment complex.
Exactly. Look, it happens in New York City with the smaller electric bikes and electric scooters. Lithium-ion batteries, they catch on fire. They burn hot and they burn long. So I think this is something I worry about and I talk about on the floor. And the other thing, and I haven't brought up here too much to you, Frank, and the viewers, is the other part of my bill that I thought was far superior is that we require these parts and components to be made in the USA. And during my debate, I brought it up, and I've brought this up time and time again. A lot of people don't know, 70% of the cobalt, the lithium-ion battery is made of cobalt and lithium. 70% of the cobalt is extracted in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Well documented that it uses child labor, some as young as 6 years old. They estimate some 30,000 kids. And they go into a hand mine, dig for cobalt. And these mines have collapsed on them, killed them, paralyzed them, lost limbs. And that's what's happening. And I bring this up on the floor. I mean, and we always talk about looking for our disadvantaged communities. I go, what about these disadvantaged communities? It's almost like it's okay.
They ignore it.
And
you're right. It's okay if it's not in our backyard.
Yeah, it's like it's
That's
same
horrible.
thing. Yeah, the same thing on the lithium in the lithium triangle, Chile, Bolivia, Argentina. They're poisoning, it's so radioactive, their lithium, it's poisoning water rivers and streams over there. If they're poisoning water rivers and streams here, if kids were dying here and being paralyzed, this would not happen. But it's almost because they're helping us meet our so-called, and they're not clean, obviously, goals. It's okay. And I had this debate. I'm probably pivoting, but it reminded me of the conversation I had with my colleague from New York City, who's pushing these bills. And I was talking about this on the floor, and she got up and asked me to yield. And so the majority leader, and I go, absolutely, I'll yield, because I was talking about this at the very end of one of my discussions. Right. And she says, well, what about the points when if there's oil spills and things like that? Isn't that a problem? I go, it's a big problem. Yeah. I go, but let me say one more thing on that part. I go, I know you don't like oil rigs. I know you don't like fracking wells. I don't see any children working on them, do you? Mm. And she didn't say anything. And then the speaker, the speaker who presides says, "Stop it!"
But it's fair.
But it's a fact. So, and that's the ironic picture of these electric school buses. How ironic is our kids are going to be riding on these buses that were being made by kids in the Democratic Republic of Congo who have been paralyzed, who've been killed, who've been maimed. And it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's not a feasible operation. So our bill was far superior. They held it in committee 2 days before, but I am glad this provision was included in the Alpha bill, which we passed 2 days ago. It's a slight pause, a slight respite for these school districts.
It doesn't feel like we're going to talk about it.
We're going to keep talking
for 5 years, because what's going to happen is, like politics and all in life, we're going to blink and it's 5 years.
It's going to be there before we know it. And that's why I said this is a perfect time. And when in my floor comments, I said, this is the perfect time. Let's do the cost-benefit analysis. Yeah. Let's do the feasibility study. Let's do the safety study. Let's ensure these parts are made with American parts and components, so it's done here. So we're not exploiting children. We're not poisoning water, rivers, streams, and other communities. So let's make way for the technology. But I go on and on. Yeah. That's just
but
the
one. Was there anything else positive in the education, labor, and family assistance, or what?
I think the school bus is the big thing. Yeah. And like I was saying at the beginning, was the increase in school aid, which I think is something we were all university Republicans and Democrats, upstate, downstate, because last year was a 2% floor, and many of my school districts, our school districts here, are at that floor because our enrollment numbers are down. And the problem with the enrollment numbers, whether your enrollment is declining, whether you have 20 kids in the classroom or 30 kids in the classroom, you still have teachers, you still have teachers' aid, you still have to heat that building, you still have to air condition that building, you still have to make infrastructure improvements, you still have health insurance costs that are going up, pension costs that are going up. All of those things are part of it. So that's why we say we need to keep pace with that. And one of the comments I made during the budget debate on that bill too is that there's formulas that are driven, and they're tweaking the foundation formula. There are people that said we should be looking at, they call it the sparsity factor, that is really the main component that our upstate rural school districts and with less density have. Let's make tweaks to that would help that formula drive more money to our upstate rural schools. But they did make changes to the English learning, or English as a second language and English learning communities, which drives the money and tweaks it so it goes more money downstate. And that's kind of that's inside baseball. The school districts understand it, but that's the problem. We should be dealing with those things. But the fact that they had an increase, we made it from 2% versus 1%, I think is a big positive thing. And the electric school bus was a positive thing. But my main opposition to that, and we had some Republicans who voted on that bill, and I understand. And I kind of laid it out there in my budget debate. It's like there will be some who will vote because of these things. Right. But for myself, I'm going to be voting no, because we still don't have a financial plan. Mm-hmm. The education component of the budget is like $40 billion. You have to have the full picture before we're asked to vote on a budget that's $250 billion. We should know what the out-year budget gaps are going to be. Yeah. We should know what the tax increases are going to be. We should know all of these things before we're voting. We should have the financial plans before we make one budget vote. And that was part of my argument against voting for the Alpha. Same thing on public protection, but the public protection beyond that has much more dangerous things in there, especially on the immigration side of things. And
yep. We got to take a short break, but first I'm going to read this comment. This is to me, Phil, this is before you got on the show. Can you say one or two good things about the Democrats? I'll get back to you on that. Saying, I haven't watched your show, but I woke up it was on. I consider myself in the middle of a lot of issues. I can agree at times with both sides, but I noticed this entire morning has been praised the Republicans, bash the Democrat Party. Both parties have their own controversy and people that are terrible. I understand your last line. We were talking about, I think, because we had so many guests in the first hour, this must have been in reference to the Democrats' autopsy. That was the Democrats' own autopsy. The DNC had released that about why they lost in 2024. So yes, there was some negative language in there towards Democrats, but that was their own language. You can correct me if that's not what you're referencing. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Phil. Hey, that's nice. You are a very patient man. Thank you for your perseverance. Now, that you get this every time. It always looks like playtime going on while you're speaking. No wonder nobody knows what's going on. What happened to respect? That's everybody in the background. Everybody notices it. All right. And to the one gentleman that asked, that's the person behind you is the Sergeant of Arms, correct?
The one gentleman behind me is the Sergeant of Arms. He's there to make Mr. Jackson is make sure things are processing the way they're supposed to do. He's a great guy. He's been there for a number of times, a Vietnam veteran. When I was an intern in 1990, I have a picture with me from him way back then. He's just a real good guy and probably the most well-respected and most well-liked person in the entire chamber.
Everybody just sees the ducks on his podium. Yeah, that's what it is. That's why they focus on him.
He's a good man.
He's good. Now, is that an elected position or is he just there?
He's appointed.
Appointed. Oh, interesting. Yep. Okay. See what we're learning? All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back. Well, the Frankly Speaking roof cam is down this morning in preparation for Glass Fest. I don't know. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acomb. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano. All right, Phil, we have a lot to get to, but I got this question looking on everywhere. There's so much action going on the streets. Good morning. Question for Phil. And he also says, good morning, Phil. Once Bruce Blakeman is elected governor of New York State, how long do you think it will take for him, for example, to undo the idiotic electric mandate and other things in general? Do you think the Democrats will cooperate with him in his efforts to save New York State and bring it back from the brink of destruction? Lastly, if it with Bruce, hopefully not a Republican, or hopefully, but a Republican majority, can New York State be saved, or is it too far gone for any meaningful recovery? He's just wondering because he has to know whether to plan to leave.
I mean, first, I'm always the ever eternal optimist.
Yeah.
We have challenges. I mean, I think with Bruce Blakeman as our governor, we can make some major changes. I think he would have to, and I'm not a big fan of policy in the budget. I never have been, but I think that's the one area he's going to have to use the budget as leverage in negotiations because, you know, the governor usually has a lot more power in the negotiations. We've seen this with Governor Hochul. We've seen it with Governor Cuomo. And some of these Democrats in the Assembly and the Senate don't want to make any changes to the electric mandates. You know, they all want to ban. Many of them want to ban natural gas, despite what the polls say. People want natural gas. They don't want to ban on it. 71% of New Yorkers don't want to ban on natural gas. 2/3 of New Yorkers want to balance between renewable resources and natural gas. So, and there's this animosity towards natural gas. We've seen it on fracking. We've seen it on pipelines, and we've seen it on air permits. So. He's going to have a challenge, but I think he's up for the challenge. But and not just on that, on public safety issues, which are big issues too, the bail reform. He's going to have to, you know, work hard at this. But I'm sure. And then I know when we elect more Republicans to the legislature this time around, which I think we will, if we get veto-proof majorities or minorities, so that we can, you know, if he has a veto, we can uphold it. I think that's going to be help.
Okay, another comment. Rick, I apologize. I won't be able to read your whole comment because it's all about federal stuff, but I will read this part. Prayers for the Bush family with the passing of Kyle. Shocked. We've been following NASCAR for 40 years. Kyle was a natural. I saw a big change for the better in him when he went to work for Richard Childress. He could really wheel a race car. So I hope you don't mind, Rick, that I just skipped ahead of that, but you're right. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Bush family. Ken writes in, the Democrats don't worry about a few accidents involving children in a foreign country. They would stand in the way of their portfolios or the portfolios of their benefactors. I still shake my head when it's Hochul is doing this or Hochul's doing that. She makes no decision herself. She's just a mouthpiece for the Democrat puppet masters. Thank you very much. All right, Phil. Public Protection and General Government Budget Bill. This was yesterday?
This was yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you saying there? I know I received a press release. You're not necessarily happy with the overreach on immigration.
Oh, there's a whole host of issues.
Okay, that's just one.
And I'll come to immigration in a minute if I could. But a couple of things that I think about when I think about our corrections officers, things that would have been in the budget on here. Maybe some can come up later. But there was no HALT reform. Remember,
and you've been an advocate for that.
Yes. I mean, last year there was the Governor's Office of Employee Relations, DOCS, and NYSCOBA, the union that represents our corrections officer, came to an agreement, and it was an agreement that was supported by all the other public employees unions with a bunch of recommendations on how to reform HALT to make the situation inside our correctional facilities better, safer. We have a staffing and safety crisis inside our correctional facilities. It's a powder keg environment. Every time you turn around, I get reports of more assaults, whether it's Elmira, 5 Points, anywhere across the state. Our corrections officers are constantly under assault. So we could have had those reforms in this budget. They weren't, and I question the chairman about that. And the other provision that our corrections officers are looking for, given the fact that Governor Hochul fired 2,000 corrections officers, we have a shortage of about 4,500, and we got a bunch of National Guards troops still inside our correctional facilities.
That doesn't get any attention.
Over $500 million, more than that, and growing. And this death gamble for the viewer, how it works is when someone in public, in service, like a corrections officer, they can usually retire after 25 years because, I mean, it's a difficult job, like troopers are 25 years. But if they stay on the job, and they should die, even though they earned and secured that pension, their loved one would not get the pension. They would just get a death benefit and any life insurance they may or may not have. But and in my opinion, those individuals not just deserve it, but they earn that pension, and we should be able to protect that loved one. And 3 times this bill has been vetoed, and every time it's, Governor Cuomo once, Governor Hochul twice, and every time they put it in the budget. But for some reason, they never end up putting it in the budget. So I asked the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee about that during the budget debate yesterday, that this should be a part of the budget. Now, he did say, it's still possible. He didn't say it was, but because of the things they're talking about with Tier 6 and the pension reforms, because of that, it could be taken up at a later budget time. So I'm hopeful it is. So I'm not saying it's over on that issue. Right. I think the halt's done. I don't think anything's going to happen in halt.
That's fallen on deaf ears every time we bring it up.
It's really, really sad.
Even when we've had the clips when you're talking to people, it's like.
And the sad part about it with HALT, and I said it, and I know these statistics, since HALT was implemented in the first 3 years, inmate assaults, and if they think they care about the inmates, has increased over 169%. Inmate and staff assaults have increased 76%. Our contraband seizures have increased more than 32% during the initial first 3 years of the program. Last year, those with the work stoppage, those numbers are skewed a little bit because of changes. But the fact of the matter is, every week I get reports seeing more assaults, dangerous assaults taking place, and this is just a common sense approach. It wasn't an outright repeal, HALT, which I think we should do, an outright repeal. These were reforms, changes to the HALT program, and they still won't do that.
I want to ask you, Phil, should I take a break here? No, we got a second. When it comes to immigration specifically, because we've talked about this with the sheriff in the past, and there was some controversy. We just had Kelly Fitzpatrick on, where working with ICE, and of course this was standard and all that. So is all this null and void now? Or are we talking about the fact that we can no longer, that state employees can't work with federal immigration authorities, law enforcement, officers, all that?
Yeah, and I talked to the sheriff the other day. I mean, the sheriff, Sheriff Allard, Steuben County has a 287 agreement with ICE. And I was telling he goes, isn't it better to be able to come inside a correctional facility and take that person there versus trying to chase them down in the streets? I mean, that's why when we have this cooperation, we don't have those problems that you see in Minnesota and things, because there's cooperation, there's collaboration, but instead of this sanctuary status, this thing. So yeah, you have state employees. I mean, you can't cooperate. The other thing,
and I'll read all of them because I don't want to run too late on it.
But
I just wanted to specifically on that, and also what bothers me, Phil. Well, we'll go through it. Why don't we do this? Because I can tell I'm running late, and I want to get. We want to focus on this for a moment because this is very important. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking roof cam is on the fritz. We'll restart that a little bit. But we've got Assemblyman Phil Palmesano in the Hesselson studio. Okay, Phil, we got a couple questions from viewers. Let's see here. First one. Phil, is there anything the state or government can do to lower gas prices? It feels like there is quite a few politicians that don't care about the affordability for Americans.
I think from a broader perspective, I mean, there are little things we could do. Some there are proposals. So let's suspend the gas tax that we have in New York, the state gas taxes. But it's not going to make a significant difference because obviously that's impacted by the market. But what I've been talking when it comes to gas prices, especially in the long term, these green mandates that are under discussion or that are in law that we have to address. If we do not make these necessary changes, if we go forward with this, the price of a gallon of gas, by this governor's own numbers and estimates, will increase, and this is above and beyond what it is right now, will increase more than $2.23 a gallon above and beyond what it is now. If we keep moving forward with these green policies, with cap and invest and things like that, price of diesel will increase more than $2.41 a gallon above and beyond what it is now. So, the things we can do in the long term, pump the brakes on these green mandates and look at these policies and how they're going to impact the customer. I think that's something we need to be looking at. But in the short term, which I would support, suspend some of the taxes on the state taxes on gasoline and things like that. That might be helpful, but that's not going to make a substantial difference.
Right.
So those are some of the things that people have talked about.
All right, we're going to talk about immigration, but before that, how about this one, Phil? Phil, you are amazing, says Jack. Forget AI, artificial intelligence, when you have PI, Phil intelligence on the job. All without a teleprompter this morning. Unreal. Thank you, Phil, for all that you do. That was nice. That was a nice one. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
All right. So we got bans local governments from entering into or remaining in any 287G contracts that allows participation in immigration enforcement, as well as agreements on detaining individuals or immigration violations. These are the major ones. Ban any state employee from working with federal immigration authorities. This one drives me crazy. All of them do. But bans law enforcement officers from wearing face coverings while performing their duties. We cried for face coverings when there was an anti-Semitic protest in the street. Take them down. All these people are being intimidated. Kathy Hochul sounded strong on it last year. She dropped it. But now when it comes to law enforcement, another example of going after law enforcement. And finally, allow individuals to sue federal law enforcement officers. That's a can of worms.
What kind of message are we sending to our law enforcement, dedicated men and women who work a very dangerous job to protect us? Every day they go to work, they don't know if they're going to return. These are heroes.
Right.
But yet they're being vilified at every level. And I know most of the focus is on ICE officers, but even you see it with the local police and some of the attacks. I remember during in New York City that they were throwing snowballs at New York City police officers, and the mayor said it's a snowball fight.
And it wasn't snowballs.
It was an assault.
It wasn't like you're throwing it at your friends.
Exactly.
These were weapons.
And what we continue to see with these policies, and I can delve more into the policies, is what are we saying to our law enforcement who work this dangerous job? Time and time again, Frank, the policies that are being advanced by the Democrats in Albany, by Governor Hochul, seem to tip the scales of justice in favor of criminals over public safety, over crime victims and their families, and over law enforcement. It's wrong. It needs to stop. And we need to do a better job of showing our respect for the law enforcement.
And we hear about what is just like you said, an overreach, I think is a perfect word. I saw an Empire Report, and I can't remember the outlet. They're saying that some Democrats in Albany believe this didn't go far enough.
Oh, there's so much more they want to do, which is kind of scary. But
that New York for All Act.
New York for All Act, which is, when they say all, it basically means all. Mm-hmm. And everything will just be in favor. I gave the example on the floor. I'm like, and I've said this, I think this on the show, we have in New York is right now we're already a sanctuary city, sanctuary state, and this is just going to, how much we spent over $13 billion. We know we got a migrant influx and crisis. We had that, we saw how much we had to spend to bail out New York City on this, and the state dollars are going for that. This is going to exacerbate that problem. It's one thing after another, and I just don't know where we go from here. It's just mind-blowing to me.
I know. Well, Phil, is there anything more specifically you want to bring up on this, or do you want to take a break and we'll kind of just do a general recap?
I'm sure there's more that's going to come.
I know.
Come back from the break.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking, getting ready to wrap up today's edition. So get your last-minute comments and last-minute waves in. We'll be right back. And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC-TV, Big Fox, broadcasting from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano. We just had a little more to wrap up when we talk about the immigration policy coming out of New York, out of Albany, yesterday.
Yes. This is going to make, the number one responsibility of government is to protect our citizens.
Right.
This bill does not do that. In fact, it makes it more dangerous. Why are we handcuffing our law enforcement? Our sheriff should be able to make decisions that's going to impact their local community to keep them safe.
That's why they are elected.
And this is a total violation and usurping local home rule and local control on how to protect our citizens. They say they don't want taxpayer dollars, but I'm like, these are local taxpayer dollars. So you want to control how they spend their local taxpayer dollars to keep their community safe. So from that perspective, it does not make any sense. let our local law enforcement decide, make those decisions with keep the community safe, and let's not usurp a local control. And I believe this is totally going to be overturned in the courts. I mean, there's federal supremacy. How are we going to be telling what federal law enforcement officers can wear and where they can go and things of that nature? It just doesn't make any sense to me, and it's just going to make it more dangerous we've seen a rise in assaults on ICE officers, vehicular assaults over the past year, and that this is not going to make it any safer for them. So that's number one, on top of the other things I mentioned. And I try to put it in perspective, and I said this on the floor. Remember this. We've seen the perfect storm of terrible policies coming together on immigration. Right. First, you have an individual crosses the border during the Biden administration. They were caught, but released. Where did they come? They came to New York because we're a sanctuary city, sanctuary state, because of our policies. That individual committed a crime. Because of our bail reform, they were released because they don't want to have cooperation with federal ICE officials or federal law enforcement. They released that individual, didn't serve any time, just released, went down to Atlanta, Georgia, and murdered Laken Riley. Right. And there are more stories like that, and that's what I said on the floor. And for all these reasons, it's just terrible.
Let's wrap up on a couple important notes. They're all important. Let's talk about, and we mentioned on this program a little while ago, when you got the chance to honor the state troopers.
Oh yeah, they have the superintendent accommodations, and I got a note. They contact us when someone in our district won. So I got to go to the ceremony before. I couldn't stay because we had session and meetings, but I went. And then there was a gentleman, Brian Cosimo, from Catlin, who I was notified about was a winner. And when I went there, I saw Nick Trentinelli from Corning.
Oh yeah, of course.
Young man, I know him and his family for a long time. And I looked at it. I go, he was getting recognized too. He was recognized for the National Top Trooper Award. Oh, wow. And Nick's also in the National Guard. He's been in the correctional facilities too, because I saw him over in Livingston County, Groveland at one time. He was recognized for National Top Trooper. I saw his family there. I had a chance to talk to him. And Andy Jones from Horsheads. Both Andy and Brian got the accommodation awards from the superintendent. And with Nick, the three of them, from the area, so we were able to do a picture and just got a chance to go there and say, hey, thank you for your service and thank you for what you do for us. So.
That's great. And when you were walking in this morning, I didn't want to say anything, but you looked a little sore. You had a little a hitch in your giddy up. Why is that?
Well, we had our annual Assembly's Republican Democrat softball game this week.
How'd it go?
Well, number one. We won, which is a good thing.
That's all that matters.
Second year in a row with our new leader Ed Ra, so we won. But the big winner was the food bank. We raised over $14,000 for the food bank for the region. But I decided to slide into home running around the bases after
had to be a hero.
I was trying to be a hero. I slid and I was safe. But here's the problem. Yeah. My run didn't count because apparently, which I didn't, unbeknownst to me, there's a 5-run limit per inning.
Okay.
And I was a 6-run.
I
scarfed up my leg pretty bad, and so I'm all wrapped up, and it's just not pretty. I mentioned to my wife, she goes, "You're an idiot."
Yeah.
Because 2 years ago I pulled my groin running down the first baseline, and I actually spent a day. I had to go to the hospital for it because it was just terrible, and it was the worst pain ever. So at least I didn't pull my groin. This is a little sore. It hurts a little bit, but yes.
I don't think you should keep signing off.
There's so many.
Well, that's why you got to stick to bocce.
Bocce, yes, bocce. I'm part of the Italian American state legislators, and we do this annual. And the big thing about that is we give scholarships to kids. Yeah. Every year, and once I had someone here win it, but it's a collaboration. We do this for charity, but we do a social event, and they have a bocce ball thing at the end of the night. Yep. My team happened to win the bocce ball championship for the second year in a row.
Wow, congratulations.
And quite frankly, I'm on that trophy 6 times.
Oh, hey, all right. So, braggart.
But it's just a little fun thing to do, but it's just kind of fun.
I never knew you were such a pro at bocce. Yeah. Well, Phil, thanks for giving us so much time this morning. It's hard to believe, but we're through. You got a lot of work ahead of you in Albany.
Next week's going to be a busy week, so we'll come back and talk after we finish up the budget and the end of legislative session, because I'm going to be in Albany through Friday the next 2 weeks.
Okay, but we'll talk soon. All right, thanks. As always, Fridays with Phil. We always enjoy it. Have fun at the Glass Fest, everyone, and join us on Tuesday. And have a wonderful Memorial Day. I know, Phil, I hope you have a nice Memorial Day and everybody out there. And we'll be back on Tuesday morning with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I look forward to it already.